Hi, this is the Chapter 1 highlights for Stat 2010. These highlights are pretty brief for this chapter, so I decided to put them all together in one video. I don't think it'll take very long. What we're going to talk about here are types of data, levels of measurement, and the difference between populations and samples. These are all things that students tend to have trouble with. First of all, types of data. We have quantitative data, which is just numbers that represent counts or measurements. An example of this would be the weights of supermodels or of any other group of people. Then we have qualitative data. This is also sometimes called categorical data or attribute data. This just means that we can separate the data into different categories that are distinguished by some specific characteristic. This may or may not be a numerical value. Example 1 would be the genders, male or female, of professional athletes. Another example would be rankings of college football teams. Notice that this is numerical data, but it's still qualitative because it's still categorical. Okay, then we have our 4 levels of measurement. The first one is the nominal level, and this is just names or labels. This is categorical data that can't be arranged in an order that makes any sense. So an example of this would be survey responses that were yes, no, or undecided. Then we have the ordinal level of measurement. This can be and often is numerical so that it can be arranged into an order, but the differences between the data values either can't be determined or they don't have any meaning, so this still counts as qualitative data. An example of this would be course grades, A, B, C, D, or F. You can put that in an order, but you can't tell the difference necessarily between one person's percentage grade if they got an A and another person's percentage grade if they got a B. The third level of measurement is the interval level. This is quantitative data. This is like the ordinal level where we can put it into an order, but the difference here is that we can tell the difference between any two data values. There's a meaning to that. On the other hand, for this type of data, there is no natural zero starting point. And if we take ratios of two of the values, it doesn't make any sense. So for example, if we're talking about time as in years, we could have the years 1000, 2000, 1776, and 1492. We could definitely put these into order, but we don't have a natural zero starting point. The year 0 doesn't necessarily mean the beginning of time. And if we look at ratios of two of these numbers, for example 2000 and 1000, if we divide those we get 2, but that has no meaning in this situation. Our fourth level of measurement is the ratio level, and this is just like the interval level, only with the additional property that we do have a natural starting point and that we can do ratios that have meaning. So for example, if we look at the prices of textbooks, a natural starting point for that would be $0. And if we look at the ratios of two values, if we had a $50 textbook and a $25 textbook, and we divided 50 by 25 to get 2, that would tell us that the $50 textbook costs twice as much as the $25 textbook. So the ratio has a meaning here. Okay, to summarize all these different types of data and levels of measurement, we've got our data first divided into qualitative and quantitative data. And then within those two, each one of them has 2 levels of measurement. So in qualitative data we have either nominal or the ordinal level of measurement. And in quantitative data we have the interval level and the ratio level. Here's an example of some data, and we want to try to figure out which type of data this is and what level of measurement this is. So if we're looking at this ranking of the top 10 party schools in the nation, this was in 2008. Notice that we do have numerical data. We have 1 through 10 for these. And the question we want to ask for the level of measurement is, first of all, can we arrange this in order? Well, yes, we can. It already is arranged in order. The next question we would ask is, are the differences between the rankings meaningful? In other words, can we tell a point difference between the number 1 and number 2 schools? Or is it possible that they were very close together, or is it possible that they were fairly far apart? Well, we don't have any idea in this case. All we have is the rankings. So, with those two pieces of information, we could decide that this data would be at the ordinal level of measurement. Okay, the last thing for this Chapter 1 highlights is the difference between a population and a sample. This is a hard thing to get sometimes. So for a population, we're looking at a specific group that we are interested in studying. The population is going to be that overall group. So it's always the larger group. The sample, on the other hand, is a subset of that group. Most of the time we don't have the time or the resources to, say, survey a whole population. So we take a smaller subset and survey those and use those values to represent our larger group. So key concepts about samples and populations. If we have a poll or a survey, the sample is going to be the set of all of those who were actually surveyed, no matter what their answer was or no matter what their response was. And the population is always going to be a larger group than the sample, except in the situation where we have a census. A census means that we are actually surveying the entire population. In that case, the two are the same, but in every other case, the population is larger than the sample. Okay, finally, if the sample is chosen from a group with specific characteristics, then that sample can only represent a population with those same characteristics. So, for example, if the sample is selected from U.S. citizens, then the study is going to represent all U.S. citizens. It's not going to represent all people in the United States, because there would be groups that would be left out. Here's an example. A Nielsen television survey of 4,000 households in the United States finds that 2,988 of them watched the final episode of American Idol. So our question is going to be, what's the sample here and what's the population? The sample is going to be all of those households that were surveyed. And again, it doesn't make any difference what their response was, whether they watched American Idol or not. Our population is going to have the same characteristics as those that were surveyed. So since we surveyed households in the United States, then our population is going to be households in the United States. Notice it doesn't represent households in any other countries since the sample was only taken from the U.S. A second example, we have a newspaper article that reports that the president's approval rating is 33%. This is according to a Gallup poll of 1,022 adults in the United States. Again, we want to think about our sample and our population. The sample is going to be all of those that were involved in the survey or the poll, so that is going to be the 1,022 adults. Again, it's not the 33% that approved of the president, it's all of those who were surveyed. And the population has to have the same characteristics as the sample, so the population represented is going to be all adults in the United States. Notice that we don't say it's all people in the United States since we excluded children, and it doesn't represent adults in any other countries since the sample didn't include adults in any other countries. Okay, here's a question for you to try. According to a newspaper report, 70% of teenagers in Cheyenne have tried alcohol at least once. This information is the result of a survey of 200 Cheyenne high school students. So the first question is, what population does the survey actually represent? Is it teenagers, high school students in Cheyenne, teenagers in Cheyenne, or the 200 students that were surveyed? Remember, in this case, we're asking for the population that's represented. So we want the population to have the same characteristics as the sample. I'll give you a few seconds to think about this, and then I'll show you the correct answer. Okay, the correct answer for the population is that this represents high school students in Cheyenne. Next question, we have the same survey, and this time we're trying to figure out what is the sample for this survey. Is it 70% of the 200 students that were surveyed, or 70% of high school students in Cheyenne? Is it just high school students in Cheyenne, or is it the 200 students that were surveyed? I'll give you a few seconds again to think about this. The correct answer for this would be the 200 students that were surveyed. Remember again that it doesn't make any difference how they responded to the survey. It's just everybody that participated in the survey, no matter what their answer to the question was.